Have you ever wondered, what does it actually take to generate real revenue online in the health and wellness space? Whether you're a personal trainer, fitness coach, mindset coach, nutritionist, registered dietitian, anyone who identifies as someone who helps people with their mental and physical well-being, then this episode is for you, especially when it feels like, what separates the successful coaches? Why does it feel like success is reserved for the few while the majority of smart coaches struggle? Well, tune in today. I'm going to give you the actual step-by-step breakdown of how I brought in almost 15K, 14,900 and some change in revenue in the last 7 days, and how you can too, what you need to know. Are you ready? Let's get started. What's up, coach? Welcome to another episode of the PT Profit Podcast. I'm your host, Beverly Simpson. Today, I'm going to be diving into some common mistakes and misconceptions that a lot of struggling coaches get into, especially if you are either new to coaching or new to the online space and trying to translate what you do so well in your expertise in person and how you can move it online. Now, something I want to make abundantly clear when it comes to sharing results, I share these results of mine and my clients to demonstrate two things: to demonstrate that the process is proven, that what I can do, you can do. The second thing is to demonstrate that it's not just me, it's also my clients. So it's to back up the claim of the principles. Now, some things that I want to just be honest about is that I have over 10 years experience communicating the values of offers and communicating the values of offers in the wellness space specifically. As a former district fitness manager and someone who's built two multiple figures, six-figure businesses online, I've seen and done and helped a lot of people and done a lot of things. So that expertise is all baked in, and distilled down into the essence of what I'm going to be teaching you today. And if you need the receipts, send me a DM, B Simpson Fitness. I'd be happy to share with you the back end. I also have already shared this in an email. And if you're not on my list, just go ahead, send me a DM and I'll happily share with you the receipts to show you that what I am sharing is the God honest truth. So when it comes to the actual process of what it takes, business growth comes down to these 4 phases. And this is essentially what I like to build. Whether you're doing this in the do-it-yourself programs that we provide or you're in coaching with us, it really looks like setting up the structure of the business using a combination of free offers, accessible offers, and premium offers. Okay. And then we use the system to scale. So when you have a process of taking someone who's never heard of you before and turning them into a customer and client the fastest way possible, but more so than that, in a way that is in alignment with you and your business and what you want to create and what you want to build, which, good news, everything works. You get to decide what's going to work for you. And when you have that mapped out and you're certain that this is what you want to do, then the strategy to scale it becomes easy. And then in order to make that work, you really need the support that the business needs as well as the support that the CEO needs, because you're going to need skill, and skill requires reps. And in order to acquire those reps, you need to have a process and plan in place to say no and how you handle no when people say no. Because while your success is inevitable, so are your failures. And if you don't have a process in place to manage the perception of failure, meaning how you deal with when things go wrong, if there's nothing in place there for you, that is why the majority of people quit before they even get to what it is that they want to do. Because people who are successful, it's not that they don't get failures or they don't have failures. They just move through no faster. So you need the support in order to do that. So this is why we like to do phase 1, where we design it. So we design it in the business in the way that's going to work for you. Then we deliver it. So we stress test the offers, whether we're stress testing a premium, an accessible, free, we're stress testing it to see if we have the audience there. Then we move through the systems to scale, where we set up all of those structures and systems and strategy and really dial in the support that your business needs. Then once you get that cooking, then we move into automate it. And that's when we start to work you out of the business and help you start to have the business run itself and you run the business rather than the business run you. So what I see along the way is that a lot of smart and struggling coaches fall into one or more of the following traps. And if this is you, you're not alone. Me too. Okay. And the first is that people operate from this: everything has to be free for a certain amount of time before asking someone to buy. So this comes from this concept of just add a ton of value, build a know, like, and trust, and then people will buy. And what I want to offer to you and ask you is how will you know when you have built enough of trust and value? When someone buys? So are you then saying that because someone hasn't bought, that's why they don't know you enough, they don't trust you enough, they don't like you enough? Because that you weren't vulnerable enough? Because you know who likes and loves me the most? My husband and my children and my mom. They're my biggest supporters, and they've never bought a dime from me. And you're watching this on a computer or a phone or listening to this, and do you know who the CEO is? Do you know whether or not they eat tacos on Tuesday? Chances are probably not. Now, am I saying that their values and the company's mission statement and like it needs to matter and that it, you want it to align? Sure. Yes, for me, absolutely. But whether or not I know what the company's mission statement is usually not the determining factor of whether or not I'm going to buy this or buy or not buy. It's not how I make a buying decision. And I'm willing to bet that the same is true for you. I'm also curious, when was the last time you went into a restaurant, a bookstore, a grocery store, and demanded that they give you something for free before you purchased or even ordered or even sat down? Chances are probably not. And yet we're told that we need to do this on the internet. And then what happens is people pleasers, people who are recovering from people pleasers, start to try and be liked, even though the advice goes, build know, like, and trust, but draw a line in the sand and be okay with people not liking you. That is counterintuitive. Subconsciously, there is an incongruency. So if you're constantly trying to be liked, then you're trying to please people who you never even met before. When the reality is, especially as a coach, you likely have to share things to your client that they don't want to hear. That's part of what it means to be a good coach, is to speak to people's potential, not to the garbage that they bring in the room. So then what happens is all these coaches, especially when they're new, they spend 90 days building know, like, and trust, not generating any revenue. And then they go to share their promotions. And then they come from this place of like, oh, I'm so sorry. Let me just do this promotional week. And then I'll go back to doing all the value, which unconsciously, subconsciously, they are sharing this message that they're somehow wrong, bad, or doing something bad by inviting people to say yes to themselves. Meanwhile, there are experts, and I put this in quotes if you're listening on the show, who are sharing on the interwebs that people need to drink their urine in order to be healthy, that people need to, stay away from vegetables, and like just a lot of misinformation on the internet that people are willing to do in an effort to get the body that they want, to have the health that they want. All of that is in an effort to make that work. All of that is in an effort to get to their goals. Meanwhile, we feel bad about showing them the right way or the best way or the way that's going to work for them so the result lasts. We feel bad about that. We think we're being sleazy. We think, oh, we haven't built enough trust or added enough value. Meanwhile, people are out there being like, drink your urine to be healthy. I mean, the absurdity of that. Now, if that's you, like, it's okay. You're not alone. Like, of course that we feel this way. We're taught by coaches to add a ton of value, and that's how people buy. When the reality is, if that were really true, then people likely wouldn't be drinking their urine or eating, cinnamon orange peels and burning their esophagus and being in the ER. Really? What people are doing is they're looking for the best way, not the second best way. No one's Googling what's the second best way to XYZ. No, they're not doing that. They want to know how to solve the problem that they know that they're in to get the outcome that they want. That's it. That's what you're doing. You are communicating that your solution, your way, is the best way to solve the problem that they're in to get the outcome that they want. That's it. Along the way, you're going to expose the truth about maybe the real problem that they're in that they don't even realize. That's what we're doing. Now, the second mistake and misconception I find that people get into is they start to think no one is going to buy high ticket health and wellness. Now, I want to break this down because high ticket and expensive products and services. High ticket compared to what? It was interesting because I was listening to someone being coached, a health and wellness professional being coached, and I was listening to the coach, and I agree with a lot of what this coach was saying, but there were some really important biases that were being communicated, in my opinion, that I felt like was a disservice to the health and wellness professional. Because she was talking about her high ticket program, $1,500, and she's had one person go through it. And the coach was sharing, oh, well, the coach was sharing, you can't command those types of prices if you don't have the experience or you're not some doctor or you don't have some sick body, right? And I just thought to myself as I listened to this hot seat or this coaching, and I thought to myself, $1,500 is expensive compared to what, right? Who said that that is a premium high ticket offer when you've got people who are in the health and wellness space that are charging anywhere from $3,600 to $5,800 for their transformation program for the same program? What could it look like if that $1,500 experience was a thought of, oh, this is beta price, right? And the reason I think this is a disservice is because what I have found to be true for the struggling professionals is that, and the smart ones, is that you already undervalue what it is that you bring to the market space. Most people go and look at their colleagues and go, oh, well, their colleagues are charging that, so I guess I better be the cheaper option. And then they try to make price be the differentiating factor between their colleagues and themselves. And that's one of the biggest mistakes that you can make. Because number one, you don't even know if that pricing is valid. Meaning the math behind their 6 and 7 figure business doesn't work. Oftentimes people get this, they mess up their offer because even if they started scaling it at 1,500, they're not going to have enough profit margin to take on what it's going to take to bring someone on to help them scale it. So then when that happens, then you're really stuck in a hard place because what are you supposed to do? You keep working in the red. And so this is what happens when smart and struggling coaches, they keep trying to scale a broken offer. Because you can white knuckle your business up to 10K. Like you can white knuckle it. Like you could hit the pavement, DM 100 people the way that people teach you to do that, and like really like talk to people, and you can hit 10K like pretty easily. And if that triggers you, then send me a DM. I want to talk about it because I want to show you specifically how that works. And the intention is not to trigger you, but the truth is when you set this up correctly, your business correctly, and you put the structure and the systems and use a strategy to scale, then if you can hit 10K, then you can hit 50K. You can also hit 100, as long as the systems and the structures are in place. Now, you will have some constraints as you go from 50K to 100K, depending on the action steps and mistakes you made in the past. If you're anything like me, right? You might have heard me say, this is how you hit 40 to 50K. And then I just told you can hit 100K. So you might be wondering, Beverly, why haven't you? Well, I had some constraints that have tied my hands from the past. Okay. So I have constraints that you might not have. So if you get to those 10K months and you don't have the constraints that I have, then you're going to crush. You can hit 100K, no problem. As long as you have the structure and the systems in place. Because most people are undercharging and undervaluing what they bring to the market. It's because what's easy for you is not easy for your client. What's easy for something that you wouldn't invest in doesn't necessarily mean your client won't invest in it. And here's the truth of the matter. If you're trying to make price being your differentiating factor, then you're not going to call in the right client, the ones that are ready to make change, the ones that are in momentum. And then you get trapped in this vicious cycle of like, oh, I didn't get my client's results, so I can't command higher prices. And you're just like constantly in this if-then continuum, feeling like I'm just not good enough. And if you're never going to feel like you're good enough, I promise you, you're just, it's going to be harder and harder to command those prices. Because you're not calling in the right people who want to actually make a change. And you can't do the push-ups and eat for them. So then what happens is you get coached into like, oh, well, let me just sell this smaller low ticket offer. And here's the truth. And if you haven't tried this or experienced this, you likely will, which is it's going to be just as hard to sell something for free as it is to sell something low ticket, as it is to sell something high ticket. The effort remains the same. How many times have people signed up for your free stuff and then they don't show? How many times have they come to your call and then they don't show? How many times have you said, hey, come to this free call, and they just won't do it? And so then you get thinking, oh man, maybe I just don't, if they're not going to come to my free thing, how are they going to come to my low ticket? Right? So I get this. It's just this vicious cycle. When the truth is, if you want to generate revenue and you want to generate big revenue, then solve big problems. And just because you won't pay for it doesn't mean that your client won't pay for it. And I've seen the back end of a lot of people's businesses, people who are brand new and they're generating 3 to 5K in their high ticket offers. Now, that doesn't mean you can't have an accessible option, but just because you have an accessible option and you're selling something for $200 doesn't mean that it's not going to take as much effort as it does to sell the 2K offer. And here's the other thing, in my opinion, if you're new, get your hands dirty. It'll be like, and what I mean by that is go and get some clinical work. Go and talk to one-on-one clients. Serve one-on-one clients. Because when you do that, you're going to get the experience. The clinical experience is what's going to give you competence. And when you feel competent, that is when you will feel confident. And when you feel confident and you're convicted in the communication of what you deliver, that's when it'll magically go and take off.